Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to everyone that may be watching online today at our council meeting. And Hindmarsh Shire Council acknowledges that this meeting is being held on the lands of the Watchabolek, Jardwa, Jardwa Jali, Warragaya and Jokabolk nations, and we acknowledge them as traditional owners of the country. We recognise the important ongoing role that Indigenous people have in our community and pay our respects to their elders past and present. This meeting is being broadcast on the internet, and the recording of the meeting will be published on Council's Facebook page and YouTube channel. As a visitor in the public gallery, you may be filmed. By remaining in the public gallery, you consent to being filmed and to the recording of you being made public available by Council. A copy of the Council's live streaming and recording Council meetings policy is available at the back of this room and the Council's website. Please speak with one of our staff members if you have any questions. And I'll hand over to Councillor Barker to read out the value statement of values.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. May. Our commitment is to come prepared to every meeting, fostering a respectful and inclusive environment where accountability and approachability are at the core of our actions. We value and encourage innovation, collaboration and open communication, always keeping in mind the well-being and needs of our community. Together, we stand united as one, working towards shared goals with mutual respect and consideration.
Thank you. Item 2, apologies. We have an apology from Councillor James Barry. No other apologies? No? Okay. Item 3, declarations of interest. Are there anyone around the table that has a general or material conflict of interest?
Mayor, I'll declare a conflict of interest, a material conflict of interest in item 15.1 as it relates to my employment.
Thank you. No others? Okay. Item 4, confirmation of minutes and businesses arising. And there is a recommendation if someone would like to move. Councillor Park.
Thanks, Mayor. Look, I'll move the recommendation that the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on Wednesday, the 5th of March 2025 at the Nil Council Chambers here in 92 Nelson Street, Nil, as circulated to councillors, be taken as read and confirmed.
Thank you. And the seconder, Councillor Barker. Everyone's in favour? Against? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, item 5, there's a business arising from previous minutes, and there's a few things there from the last meeting that have been listed. Item 5, public question and submission time. Thank you, Mrs. Rebel.
Thank you, Mayor. We have received 2 questions today from Stephen Wiley of Japarit. Stephen's first question is, why is the dog registration fee not calculated on a pro rata basis if the registration isn't for the full year? Could this be adjusted to better reflect actual period of registration? I'll pass over to Council's Director of Infrastructure to respond.
Thank you, Monica. The animal registration fee is calculated on a pro rata basis if the registration isn't for full year. For example, if you register the animal in January, the amount payable would be 1/4 of the full year. Unfortunately, Stephen won't charge for full year due to confusion amongst the staff. The issue has been communicated to Stephen, and Stephen has agreed to come back to council office for the refund to be processed for the excess payment amount.
And Stephen's second question is, why is cat registration cheaper than dog registration, considering the only wild feral animals I see in my area of Japarit are wild cats?
Thank you, Monica. The cat registration was historically kept down to encourage the residents to register their cats. The cat registration cost is further heavily subsidised if the animal is microchipped and desexed.
Thank you.
Okay, righto. Thank you for those 2 questions. Item 6, council activity reports. I'm sure that there's a couple of things here that Wimmera Southern Mallee Regional Transport Group meeting was in Horsham, and I think I was one of the few councillors that were there at the meeting, unfortunately, but anyway, I ended up with having to chair the meeting, and I may end up wearing that Guernsey permanently, but anyway, we'll see what happens with that. And Webster's announcement to the Mecca Hall in Rainbow was very generous. I guess it's all dependent on the opposition party winning government, and also further down there with Davis Park and Nil, that was a very generous contribution to our Shire, so I thought that was well worth attending. I attended a EPA session at Bort along with the CEO, and I'm not sure that it was really achieved a lot. I was expecting a lot more of it than what there was, but anyway, that's the way it was. I think there was a few people that had the same opinion. We had a meeting at the Wynnum Hall on 3 issues that I've listed there, and it was a very packed hall, very well represented by our Shire. I think Councillor Aitken was the only councillor wasn't there because he had a previous a different meeting somewhere, and our CEO and our executive staff were there also. I think the ABC recorded it. And it was a very well run meeting. I was very impressed with John Bennett, who chaired the meeting, and I thought he did a very good job of it. He was very mindful of different opinions, and I think he was very fair in the way he ran the meeting. So there was a small working group formed out of that, which I volunteered to be part of. Anyway, we'll see what happens with that. Harmony's Day celebrations in Nil, and I met some of the new people that were there, and actually met a lovely gentleman there that I gave citizenship to yesterday. So anyway, that's about all I have to report.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Councillor Oy.
Look, it was a really diverse month in terms of activities, visiting places, learning about new things. So start off with Yarriambeck Shire, understanding more about renewable energies and the grid system, and then of course learning more about the events about the little desert, going to a new area for me, the Girl Guide site that was discovering new parts of Jingula. Once again, Davis Park, meeting Anne Webster and hearing about her promise if she gets elected, if her party gets in. Wynnum Hall was an interesting experience too, to see the community being really passionate about the issues and being well turned out, and once again, for me, learning more about rural communities and their needs and what impacts them, and then of course finishing on with Harmony Week with me trying to make a difference or embracing the future. So in a way, I am living that in Hindmarsh Shire. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Aitken.
Thank you. Over the month I went to many different meetings, but one of the main ones was the meeting of Friends of Lake Hindmarsh at 4 Mile Beach at the Camp Kitchen. Look, we had a terrific turnout, not only with the people from around Lake Hindmarsh itself, being farmers and the general public, but also one of the first times that we had not only Parks Victoria, CMA, DECA, and also the Hindmarsh Shire. I must thank Mark for doing my minutes. It was a terrific evening and a good turnout. So other than doing other numerous meetings over the month, that was probably the one event that we went to. It was great. Yeah, thank you.
All right, thanks, Councillor Aitken. Councillor Barker.
Thank you, Mayor Ismay. I guess I did leave 3 things off when I went to. I did go to the Big Desert ARB event discussion. I did go to the CEO Employment and Remuneration Committee meeting, and I also did go up to Rainbow to see Anne Webster. with her generous announcement if the coalition succeeds at the federal election for the Mecca Hall, renewal of the toilet facilities and things like that. So it was really good. I did go to the Nil Town Committee, I hope there's no children watching, but the Leo Lions are organising the Easter egg hunt, which is really great to see that, you know, that different organisations working together at our town committee meeting. So that was really good. And I went down to the Nil Lions Club Market at JPEX Park and spent the morning there meeting and talking. I could barely move my jaw by the time I got home because I'd been talking and listening so much to the many different people down there who are wanting to tell me about what they're seeing in our Shire, and also that a lot of people took information to fill in the survey, so which was really important, and there are other things on our website as well that we really want that community participation in as well. I did go to the MAV convention for councillors this month, and it was just amazing to see other councils who have so much more rateable income than we do, and it made me just realise, you know, just one of many things apart from the ethics and governance and listening to some really great speakers, that we have such a small amount of rateable income and income generally into what is, you know, 7,500 square kilometres of Hindmarsh Shire, and there are other councils who are getting like 800 million, you know, so it just, and there was lots, you know, we really struggle on our small budget to do everything that we possibly can. We're not struggle, we actually do it really well. So it was interesting to see that, and there was also a lot of young councillors, enthusiastic people, and CEOs and speakers. So that was a really interesting and definitely a professional development opportunity that I have shared with the other councillors here today in more detail. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Barker. Councillor James Barry's got a report there, and he's not here to speak to it, so I'll move on to Councillor Clark.
Well, Mayor, I probably should put in a bit of a disclaimer. Essentially, I'm shocked at writing my meeting dates down. So, I think I've been to more than what is indicated here in this list. Probably the two things that really I have attended there was the Shire Township Advisory Committee meeting I went to. We've spoken about volunteer burnout, etc. There's a lot of people there that are on a lot of other committees that I'm aware of. But as the Township Advisory Committee, I'm certainly impressed how they are going forward, how passionate they are, and the projects that they're trying to achieve. So I also just wish to address the community meeting at the Wynnum Hall. I was impressed about well, to be truthful, having been in this area a long time, I was actually would have been disappointed if a lot of the community hadn't turned up and were passionate about the three issues that were to be discussed there. I was impressed about the chairman, the way he ran the meeting, considering that there was a lot of emotion there over various issues. How people got to have their say, and if other people were interrupted, the chairperson sort of pulled them back into line so that each person could have a fair say about the issue being discussed. As I said, other than that, other things like I said, I just sort of haven't written them down. It's my bad, but yeah, we're just getting out and about as best we can.
Yep, thank you. Okay, item 7, correspondence. And there is a recommendation. Someone would like to put forward a motion?
Yeah, I can move that.
Thank you.
I'd like to move the motion that Council notes the attached correspondence.
Thank you. And I second it. Councillor Clark? All in favour? Against? Motion carried. Thank you. Item 8, Assembly of Council Records, and a recommendation again.
Yes, I'd like to move a recommendation that the council notes the Assembly of Council Records be presented.
Thank you. And a seconder? Councillor Hoy. All in favour? Against? Motion carried. Thank you. Item 9, Planning Permits. 9.1 PA 1857 to 2024, Council Report, 6 Bell Street, nil, 2 additional dwellings and 3 lot subdivision. Thank you. Director, sorry?
Are you reading the executive summary? Or
Oh, sorry, I should. Thank you. This report seeks a decision for planning application PA 1857 to 2024, recommending that council issues a notice of decision to issue a planning permit. The proposal involves the development of 6 Bell Street, nil, with 2 additional dwellings fronting Ridgewell Street, along with a 3 lot subdivision, fence construction and vegetation removal. The application is brought to council due to a standing objection from a neighbour citing concerns including site coverage, setbacks, energy efficiency, car parking, infrastructure, street integration, storage and impacts on neighbourhood character, overshadowing, noise and daylight. The planning officer assessment included in the attachment concludes that the proposal will result in an acceptable planning outcome. While residential developments of this nature can be controversial, this proposal aligns with the objectives of the planning scheme. So I'll open it up for discussion, and thank you, Ram.
Yeah, so basically the summary provides you the information about the development. I'm happy to take any of the questions. The report is brought into council's attention because obviously there's this standing objections which our planning team has worked hard to negotiate between the objector and the developer to resolve the issues as much as we can.
Councillor Barker, you look like you're about
Yes.
to ask a question.
Well, I have something to say, but I'm not sure whether to say it with my objection or will I speak about it now.
I wouldn't believe you'd need to be asking me a question.
Okay, so my question is, well, I'll turn into it with a question. I feel like this particular planning permit is well presented and thoroughly. The objection was, the planning permit is not well presented. It seems to have, some scurrilous little question marks and things that have been put in there by the applicator. And the objection that was put forward is comprehensive and well presented and has some really strong arguments, which I feel like our team at council has worked really hard to ensure that they answered all of that and included different conditions as a response. And I understand that we have to work to state government development plans. I feel like this is a win-lose transaction. It's a win for the developer at expense of the neighbouring residents and the character that most people believe that they have living in the Nil Township. It's a degradation of lifestyle, potential devaluation of surrounding properties, and I agree that we do need housing, but it should be a response to the needs and wide-ranging demands of the community, from social housing to lifestyle properties, a response to the need and not to greed. The demand and supply imbalance has lessened recently compared with the peak of COVID-19, so the urgency to build has lessened somewhat. Buyers of nil properties should have confidence that the character of the town will be protected and respected, and there won't be overdevelopment of surrounding properties. Yes, there will be some infill, or as this developer calls, splitter type developments, but high-density properties should be well planned and built on vacant blocks or where a derelict house has been removed. The proposed properties are aimed at a narrow market segment without universal appeal. I personally believe the residential planning scheme should restrict this type of development. On the other hand, if there are developers out there who want to work with Hindmarsh Shire to fulfil the needs our towns and community, our town and community's needs, then I would advocate that we roll out the red carpet, and I'd be happy to invite them and consider co-investing with them. I acknowledge that the planning application has been skillfully crafted to be within millimetres of the legal requirements, but the sheer number of conditions that have been needed to be attached to the recommendation mean that future problems are almost inevitable, and I cannot, in good faith, associate my name to this planning application. So my question is how we can consider this planning permit in light of that win-lose transaction that I just spoke of. How can that be considered a good thing for the character of our town? No.
Very good question.
And how likely is it, okay, another question then, that might be easier for you.
Well, maybe just deal with the first question.
Well, how likely is it that the planner, that the developer will actually comply with all of the conditions that were, in those pages of them? Yeah.
We, so our development engineer and development team will ensure that all of the conditions are adhered to before the issue of a statement of compliance. So that all gets checked as a part of development.
And previously, this developer has pushed back on conditions.
We have had some discussions and have had some negotiations, but yeah.
Was there a further question you
No,
had?
thank you.
All right. All right, well, we do have a recommendation here, so I'll ask if anyone is prepared to move a motion.
I think this is a very tricky situation, and I've had a phone call from the neighbour as well, so I heard her out as well. I think what Rosie said is really well said, but then at the same time, coming from the housing shortage component, we do, I've been in council and also been in the region long enough to hear that that's the common complaint. There's a housing shortage in the region everywhere. So, I mean, for me, if the developer can fulfill all these conditions, then at the same time, we also acknowledge that we need to have a new planning development strategy, which we don't have, but we will develop. So I think moving forward, using this as an example, I think where if we can move forward and really plan out the vision for this region, for the towns, at the same time, I know from what I've heard from previous meetings that it's very tricky through BTAP as well, that I believe if we don't put this through, there's a chance that we would lose anyway as well, and also for the objector. So it really is complicated and tricky, but I think to move forward, maybe we'll learn from this and make sure that moving forward from a property development perspective, have that planning. But if obviously the team has done a really thorough job, and if he can fulfill all the needs, then maybe I'm in that middle where we want progress, but at the same time addressing and respect the issues. But it is complicated, I admit, from that sense, because I'm hearing the neighbour, but at the same time we do have a housing crisis as well. So I'm happy to move the motion if the conditions are put forward by the council.
Can you
if it's fulfilled by the developer? So
So
I move the motion that council issues a notice of decision to grant a planning permit for PA 1857-2024 for development of land with 2 additional dwellings on a lot, subdivision of land into 3 lots, construction of a fence and vegetation removal at 6 Bell Street, Mill, Lot 1 and 2 on Title Plan 628252, in accordance with the following clauses and subject to the following conditions 1 to 36. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lloyd. Is there a seconder? Councillor Clark, would you like to speak to your motion, Councillor Lloyd?
Oh, look, I totally respect it. It goes on and on. But I think in terms of seeing this as an opportunity to address our planning scene, so that because we did raise that we do need some direction, and then maybe use this as a case study to make sure that we have that strategy in place for future plans. Yeah, it's really tricky trying to attract investors, but at the same time trying to build more housing, and also trying to satisfy the needs of neighbours as well. So it is controversial, I accept that, but at the same time, how do we move forward as well? Addressing economic needs, housing shortage, we do need to attract doctors, nurses, and we know if there's an accommodation shortage for those people as well. So maybe it is, because it's high density, maybe it will fulfill a need for professionals to stay there, and at least there's some balance there as well, as opposed to people who might trash the property, just for example. So I'm hoping that through this project we can attract more professionals to come to the region, and I think that's also a legitimate need for this region. So that's, yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Clark?
Yeah, look, I just had a read through all these conditions here, 1 to 36, and look, I'm aware of council positioning that we're trying to increase residents in the area, increase industrial, and that for the betterment of the Shire. I think in most cases, any progress, one way or another, whether it be we're getting in a new spur line for a railway, or we're getting in a new industrial zone, it is going to cause issues or distress to nearby and affected persons, and we have to, as a council, obviously not only comply with the law, but we also are elected by the citizens, and we have to go by their thoughts also in mind. So I think with the balance of all that in place, I feel that this can only benefit the Shire, certainly benefit Nil, increase our citizens, and as Councillor Boyes pointed out, if these new dwellings are occupied by doctors, nurses, school teachers, etc., then it's certainly a big win for Hindmarsh Shire. So I've certainly just taken all that on board. I feel that we need to progress with this application for this permit.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Is there any councillor opposed to the motion? Would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, I'll just respond to that in regard to, yes, we do need accommodation, more accommodation in all our towns. Putting 2 dwellings with minimal, not even room for a Hills hoist in the backyard and 20 centimetres apart is not the character for Nil, and it's not something I'd be, wanting. As I said, I'd roll out the red carpet for developers to come. If that whole block had been cleared and they had been putting a substantial amount of units on that property, in a more, beautification perspective. But unfortunately, putting something right up against the fence, 20 centimetres apart, I don't know who's going to clean the cobwebs out of there. And I certainly feel that I cannot, in my own conscience, vote to allow that planning permit. That I understand that all the work has been done, and I look forward to seeing this planning permit coming through again when potential issues.
Thank you. I'll now put the motion. All in favour? Against? The motion's carried. Thank you. Item 10, reports requiring decision. Summary of planning permits approved under delegation Q1 2025. This report summarises the planning permit application approved by the CEO under delegation from the period of 1st of January 2025 to the 31st of March 2025. It includes planning permits approved under the Vic Smart process. A total of 5 planning permits were approved during this period.
So this report is just for councillors to note what planning permits were approved during the last quarter. There have been a few other planning permits issued after this, but we're just reporting till the date of the creation of this report. The rest will be included into the next quarter's report. Happy to take any questions.
Councillor Clark?
I think now it's my belief that these 5 applications are, shall we say, permit applications for small projects such as car garage or car carport, similar sort of items, and it's also my belief that these have not been objected to by members of the public. Is that correct?
Yeah, so they are the straightforward permits which do not have any objections, basically, and fit under CEO's delegation. So CEO could approve it.
Yeah. Thank you.
I see there's 2 dwellings there. Are they houses that are going to be built in Faith Street? Yep. And down the far end, I googled Faith Street and it looked like there were quite a few. Are they still on the sealed part of the road or are they on the dirt section?
Still on the sealed part, I believe.
Yeah. Must be right at the end of it.
Yeah.
It was a little bit good old Google didn't tell me exactly where it was, but anyway, yeah, that's another 2 residents in Dimbulla, very good. Okay, righto, we'll move on to, there's a recommendation, my apologies. Councillor Clark.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Look, I move the recommendation the council notes the planning applications approved by the Chief Executive Officer under delegation for the period 1st of January 2025 to the 31st of March 2025.
Thank you. And a seconder, Councillor Aitken. Like to speak to the motion?
Oh, look, I think I've pretty well made it clear. These are part of the permit approvals that council has delegated to our CEO with certain conditions, and these certainly meet those conditions. So hence why this system's here for us, because it gets the permits applied for, approved, and back to the applicant a lot quicker than it would be should it have to go through a council meeting. So.
Yep. Thank you. Councillor Aitken?
Yeah, same as Councillor Clark, timely manner, that's all.
Yep, right, thank you. We'll put the motion, all in favour? Against, the motion carried, thank you. Item 10.2, Community Action Grants Round 2. Director of Corporate and Community Services, thank you, Petra. I think, is it?
The executive summary.
Oh, sorry, the executive, good old executive summary, sorry. Community Action Grant 24-25, Round 2 grading. Sorry, yeah, you're right. This report seeks a council decision regarding allocation of funding through round 2 of the 2024-25 Community Action Grants Program to eligible community organisations and groups. $11,996.64 of the annual $20,000 Community Action Grant allocation is remaining after the awarding of funds through round 1 and in late 2024. The cumulative amount of $4,896 is recommended to be allocated to the following applicants. Community assistance, a grant of $1,000 to the Nil Dimbulla Band. Item 2, a grant to $1,000 to the Nil Basketball Association. Raptors, event sponsorship, a grant of $500 to the Wynnum CFA. A grant of $500 to the Nil South Landcare Group. And a grant of $500 to the Nil AMP Society. Small equipment, a grant of $900 to the First Rainbow Scout Group, a grant of $496 to Wynnum Hall Incorporated. Due to ineligibility of allocation it is not recommended for Angela Snowden cat rescue due to not meeting the criteria of being an incorporated association. So I'll open up for discussion or questions.
Yes, I was just wondering if anyone knows anything more about how we could support Angela Snowden, as she's not an incorporated association, and whether there is potential for council to look into perhaps a community group auspicing her application otherwise. So, so is there any chance of that?
Yeah.
Helping her with what her, not good intention with the often reflected on cat issues that are occurring in Japarut.
Absolutely. I'll let Ram jump in if he would like from an infrastructure perspective. But our local laws team can certainly reach out to Angela after the meeting to discuss what she's doing and what we can potentially be doing to support her, and also provide an update on any grant application either that we're undertaking or looking to undertake for cat desexing funding. Absolutely, we can look at doing that.
Yeah. No, cats are definitely an issue, not only in Japarut but also in Melbourne and the other towns. We're happy to work with Angela in that space, and my team will reach out to her to see what we can do in the future.
That'd be great. Thank you. I also have another question. It appears that these grants were somewhat undersubscribed, and this seems like the second time they've been undersubscribed. I'm wondering what happens with the surplus funds. Does it carry forward, or what happens with the surplus funds?
At the moment it doesn't carry forward. There are things that come up through the year that relate to community projects that in special circumstances council might look at allocating funding to that specific project if those rounds have not exhausted the funding. For instance, the Blaze Aid report that's being put to council today will utilise the underspend from the community action grants allocation to support that really important community work.
So what you're saying is you keep that money aside for that
purpose.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. No further questions. We have a recommendation. Councillor Barker.
I recommend, move that council, 1, approves the following funding allocations through round 2 of the Community Action Grants Program 2024-2025, subject to the provision of outstanding documentation for A, the Community Assistance Grant, B, the event sponsorship, and C, small equipment, as per the motion. And 2, does not approve funding for Angela Snowden's cat rescue, as the applicant is not an incorporated association and is applying privately as an individual, therefore not eligible for the funding at the moment.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Councillor Clark, thank you. Would you like to speak to the motion?
I think it's really lovely that we have this potential as grants to, build our community, and really be great for our community and the community groups that have gone to, that are incorporated, are more aware and considering their different community assistance requirements, their events, and any small equipments that they might need. If, we're hopeful that this funding may continue into different rounds or community action grants again in the future. And I'm really pleased to hear that, our council will reach out to Angela Snowden to assist with the cats that she's currently supporting in Japarut.
Thank you. Councillor Clark.
Yes, Mayor. Look, I think it's fantastic that we get our community groups and we're able to support them financially. I look at the list here, and it is unfortunate for Angela Snowden that she was not eligible. And it's also good to hear Ram has said to reach out to the Shire, and we'll certainly be able to assist in a different form. I know too, one of the applicants, or 2 of the applicants, is the Wynnum CFA and also the Nil South Landcare Group. have both been put in a successful funding application. But basically it goes to the same event, the Little Desert National Park Bushfires Volunteer Thank You event. So both of those groups have made an application, been successful, but they're putting it into something that is certainly for the wider community, I feel. It's something that anyone involved in the Little Desert National Park bushfires or emergencies can basically receive a result from. So.
Thank you. Are there any speakers against the motion? Not a motion, all in favour? Against, the motion carried. Thank you. Item 10.3, Council Advisory Town Committees, Terms of Reference, Hindmarsh Shire Pride Advisory Committee and Advisory Committee Policy Review. In accordance with the Advisory Committee policy, the following documents have been reviewed and are presented to Council for endorsement for a period of public consultation from the 3rd to the 18th of April 2025. The Terms of Reference for the Hindmarsh Shire's Council Town Advisory Committees of Jeparrit, Nill and Rainbow, the Hindmarsh Pride Committee Terms of Reference and the Advisory Committee Policy. Minor changes have been made to the documents, including aligning the term of appointment across all documents and noting that unspent funds allocated to advisory committees may not be carried forward into the next financial year. And I'll open it up for discussion. Councillor Barker.
Thank you, Mayor Ismay. What is the rationale behind not allowing the financial funds balance to be carried into the following year?
I'm happy to answer that, Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
So we're really looking at encouraging advisory committees to effectively plan and use the funds that they're allocated annually. Like there are a number of community events that are of high value that they run or projects that they could contribute to. The purpose of the wording change may still be that they can request to have those funds carried forward to the next year if there's a rationale for a major project or event that they want to run that would potentially cost a bit more. So it's ensuring that in the short term they're delivering on their plans and goals, but in the long term there's still a mechanism that they can accumulate funding for a major project or event.
Thank you. And can I also ask, is there public consultation occurring around these terms of reference for the town committees and the advisory committees?
Absolutely. So from tomorrow, these will be available for public comment for a couple of weeks, and then whatever we get will be submitted to council and will be considered before they're formally adopted. So they'll go to everyone, but we'll also discuss at town committee meetings so that those current members who are in the know in terms of how these actually apply can provide us that really important feedback.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Any further questions? If not, we have a motion. Councillor Barker.
I move that the council endorses the draft town advisory committee terms of reference, the draft Hindmarsh Pride committee terms of reference, and the advisory committee policy for public consultation from the 3rd to the 18th of April 2025.
Thank you. And the seconder, Councillor Aitken. Would you like to speak to the motion, Councillor Barker?
Yes, I think that it's good to create some clear guidance for our town committees, advisory committees, and because they do a significant role within the community, and they're there to creating the events, and they're creating that kind of real spirit to our communities, and it's good for them to know what they can and can't do, and how the money that is given to support those events and things is then used appropriately and in a timely manner, so they can make things bigger, better, brighter.
Thank you. Councillor Aitken?
No.
Okay. No one wants to speak against the motion. Put the motion. All in favour? Against, motion carried. Thank you. Item 10.4, Audit and Risk Committee Charter. This report presents the Audit and Risk Committee Charter recommended for council adoption, and the minutes of the Audit Risk Committee meeting held on the 19th of March 2025 for council noting. At the meeting held on the 19th of March 2025, the Audit and Risk Committee endorsed the revised Audit and Risk Committee Charter and recommended that it be presented to council for adoption. Key changes to the Charter include directly reflecting the Act in describing the committee's role, clarifying the responsibilities of the committee to better describe the specific actions to be undertaken by the committee reflected in the annual work plan, clarifying the extent of the committee's authority and how this is enacted through accepted and legislated processes, and providing for silences in governance matters. And I'll open it up for discussion. Thank you.
I do have a
Question?
as I am on the Audit and Risk Committee. Does that mean that I have a general or material conflict of interest? No. Thank you.
I would have thought so. Would there be?
No, sorry,
No.
I shook my head, but I was in your blind spot.
Right. I don't accept head shakings.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Righto. No, you don't.
Thank you.
Councillor Clark.
Mr. Mayor, so just reading, taking into account your summary there, I mean, these changes to this charter are basically just a policy procedure changes and not really a actual action changes, so to speak, on the ground. They're just a more policy procedure change. Is that how I'm reading it?
Yes, so the functions of the Audit and Risk Committee, as need to be contained into the Charter, are very much prescribed by the Local Government Act, but under the categories that we have to provide information in or report in, the specific actions within that have essentially just been re-articulated, like said a different way. So the function of the committee and what they do and what they review is unchanged, but the specifics in the Charter of how that looks has just been reworded.
Right, so what's saying you put a couple of bigger words in it?
Smaller words.
Right, okay, thank you.
All right, Councillor.
And through the chair, can I ask Councillor Barker a question? Are you on this audit committee?
Yes.
Yeah, you talked about that day?
We did talk about it, and but there was a lot talked about. Okay. So that's why I was wondering whether I had a conflict of interest or not.
No, that's fine. Just asking a query. Thanks, Chair.
All right. Take a motion. Councillor Clark.
Yeah, look, Mayor, I move a motion of recommendation that Councillor 1 adopts the Audit and Risk Committee Charter, and 2 notes the minutes of the Audit and Risk Committee meeting held on the 19th of March 2025.
Thank you. And a seconder? Councillor Barker. Like to speak to the motion?
No, thanks, Mayor.
All right, Councillor Barker.
I actually think that the Audit and Risk Committee has a substantial amount of very interested and interesting people involved with it, including our previous councillor and mayor in the past, Robert Hirsch. And I think that it brings a wealth of consideration to what's happening with our finances and looks at the detail and making sure that we're running a good business model, and that the community can trust us as a council to be doing the right thing financially.
Thank you. There are no speakers or no one against the motion. I'll put the motion. All in favour? Against? The motion's carried. Thank you. Item 10.5, council donation to Blaze Aid. Following the recent Little Desert bushfire, council officers have been working with the residents seeking information on property losses and impacts, including fencing damage. Information obtained has identified that there is significant kilometres of fencing damaged or destroyed. Volunteer organisation Blaze Aid are assisting with the restoration and replacement of fencing and are anticipating that they will be in the region for at least 3 months. This report seeks council approval to provide $2,500 excluding GST donation to Blaze Aid to assist with the expenses incurred. And I'll now open up for discussion. Councillor Clark.
Yeah, Mayor, just a question, in relation to Blaze Aid, am I reading correct here that, they're basically a volunteer organisation and, are not funded other than raising their own funds, and other funds being given in donation, like similar to what this, application is about? Is that correct?
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
so volunteers, so it may be recently retired or it might be backpackers that are coming into the region. So they've just recently set up camp here in Mill. Statistics are they've assisted 16 out of 26 identified property owners to date, and I think it was 35 kilometres of fencing that had already been repaired from Hindmarsh residents that have been affected by the fire. And feedback is that they are prompt and that they are working with the affected property owner, and positive comments.
That's great.
Councillor Clark.
Just a further question, if I may, through you, Chair, to the CEO. In relation to Blaze Aid, I mean, I've heard nothing less than, to quote an Australian term, they do a bloody ripper job. Now, I've also heard that at this stage they may be, I'm not sure the word funded, or they have a working relationship with a plumbing business or a plumbing company, and they've also extended out into not only like their fencing, general sort of farm related, they've gone into also a little bit of plumbing through this business. Is that correct, what I've heard?
Yes, so our team have been contacting residents that we know that have been affected by the Little Desert bushfire, asking if they've had any pipe damage or any damage to any water infrastructure that Blaze Aid may be able to also assist with.
Fantastic.
They've also been assisting with some gardening as well while they've been in the region, so they're not specifically just assisting those that have fencing damage.
So at this stage, my house in Rainbow won't get any gardening done. It's too far away.
Probably not. Councillor Barger.
Also have a question, did I hear correctly that they offered to assist when the Nil water tank exploded with the properties that were significantly damaged?
Yes, I spoke to the camp coordinator for Blaze Aid to ask if there would be any capacity for those that are here volunteering at the moment to assist with any property owners. They were willing to assist, so that information was passed on to GWM Water.
Lovely, thank you.
Okay, any further questions? If not, a recommendation here. Councillor Clark.
Yeah, Mayor, look, I feel pretty strongly about Blaze Aid. I've not really had much to do with them, but I've read a fair bit of what they do, and I just am nothing less than impressed. So I'm quite happy to move a motion, a recommendation that this council makes a financial donation of $2,500 excluding GST to Blaze Aid in appreciation of the countless hours these volunteers will spend in Hindmarsh assisting impacted residents from the Little Desert bushfire.
Thank you. Seconded, Councillor Aiken. Need to speak to the motion?
Look, Mayor, only nothing less than like I said. Nothing I hear about these people or read about these people is negative at all. It's just positive, positive, positive. They do a brilliant job as far as I can see. So.
Except they won't do your garden.
Except they won't do my garden. Yeah. So we may work on that.
Councillor Aiken.
Look, the same thing as Councillor Clark. I have worked with Blaze Aid through the Armoury Reserves in the bushfires many years ago, and they're a great mob of guys and girls that work there. They got Army, Air Force, Navy to go and give them a hand that year because there was so much to do. So, yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Okay. No one wants to speak against the motion. I'll put the motion. All in favour? Against, the motion's carried. Thank you. Item 11, Council Committees. 11.1 Advisory Committee. 11.2 Community Assets Committee. and we have the Women Mallee Pioneer Museum minutes and the Urunga Homestead minutes. And I don't know whether I need to read any more of that out. There's a recommendation there.
Okay, I'd like to move that council notes the minutes of the following community asset committees, and 1, a Wimmera Valley Pioneer Museum meeting held on the 18th of February, and 2, the Urunga Homestead meeting held on the 24th of February 2025.
Thank you. And the seconder, Councillor Clark. Like to speak to the motion?
Look, I just want to reiterate the great work that our volunteers do across the Hindmarsh Shire. They are involved in a number of different committees. They're passionate about what they're doing, and it certainly shows in the assets that they're working with and the advisory committees, even though there hasn't been anything presented at this council meeting in the minutes.
Okay. Sorry, Councillor Clark, do you want to speak to the motion? Sorry, I lost myself.
You're a bit, yeah, certainly I'm Shire representative for the Urunga Homestead. I attended this meeting on the 24th of February. Look, for a very small committee, they do absolutely brilliant stuff, and I can only recommend to anyone in the Shire, get out to the Urunga Homestead at Rainbow and have a look at it, because it is super impressive.
Thank you. No one else speaking against the motion. Put the motion. All in favour? Against? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, there's no late reports, no notice of motion, and other business. Anything, Councillor Barker?
Yes, I just have a question in regard to the 2023-2024 financial assistance grant. And I was just wondering if the CEO could talk to whether we received that financial assistance grant here at the Hindmarsh Shire.
Yes, I'm happy to answer that question. Yes, so the financial assistance grants is significant funding that comes from the federal government through the state government to council, and each year the timing varies slightly. This current year we received the allocation the first week of July, but in previous years there's been years where we've received 50% lump sum prior to the 30th of June into the following year. There's been years where we've received 75%, and so we did receive the 23-24 financial assistance grant. It came in on the 26th of June 2023. What we do here at Hindmarsh is that we will quarantine that funds, and so that we don't double spend. We will make sure that it is budgeted for the year that it's due to be spent. If it's received early, we will put it aside in our carry forwards and make sure that we carry it into the year that it is due to be spent in.
Thank you. It seems very wise that we're making sure that the money is spent in the year that it's allocated for, considering we come from a low income base here at Hindmarsh Shire compared to the many other metro councils that I encountered at the conference that I went to recently. So very wise financial practice. Thank you.
So, Councillor Aiken, you got no? Councillor Clark?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Hoyt? No? Okay. I think that concludes the open part of our meeting, and we're about to move into confidential reports. So I'll thank everyone out in TV land, whatever land it is, Facebook land, for watching the council meeting today. If you've been watching, do I need to read that first? Yep. Okay, right. All right. So we're about to finish up the council meeting. So thank you so much for all of you for watching out there. I need a motion to move into confidential reports. Thank you, Councillor Barker.
Thank you, Mayor Ismay. I move that the meeting be closed in accordance with section 66(2) 2A of the Local Government Act 2020 to consider reports that contain confidential information as defined by Section 3 of the Local Government Act 2020 and or Part 4 of the Freedom of Information Act of 1982, and following consideration of items 15.1 to 15.3, close the council meeting. And
Yeah, just
yeah.
that.
15.1 is the CEO Employment and Remuneration Committee. 15.2 is the extension of the contract 2022-2023-02, and 15.3 is the extension of Department of Transport and Planning contract.
Thank you. The seconder, Councillor Park. All in favour? Against? Motion carried. Thank you. And again, thank you everyone for watching.